My name is Olena, and I live in Kiev, in Ukraine, and work at the Voices of Children Charity Foundation, one of the biggest foundation in Ukraine that provides assistance to children. Our mission is that no child should be left alone with the experience of war. I have two children. It is most interesting information about me. I have two children, Christina, my daughter, who is 18 years old. Yes, 18 years old. And my son, Enrico, who is 5 years old, and he has an autism. When my son was 2 years, he was diagnosed with autism. And to be honest, it was a shock for me. Um, Yes, maybe from the time he was approximately 1 years old, I noticed some red flags indicating about autism, but I kept reassuring myself that it was still little and that every child develops at their own pace. However, when he turned two, we visited a psychiatrist and received the diagnosis. Um, it was such a difficult period of acceptance for me, approximately maybe 4 months. What's thinking about it, I tried to understand what was the hardest thing for me in this acceptance, and what is usually the hardest part for other parents, especially in this early stage of acceptance. I think that it's probably the realization that your life, your motherhood, your expectations maybe for your child will not be as you imagined before. And that hurts. And I felt that I was grieving, to be honest. During that time, I worked with a psychologist and allowed myself to experience all these emotions. But over time, um, as I accepted my son's diagnosis and all challenges that autism brings in my life, I suddenly realized that I wanted to turn this personal experience into some fuel for making change in society. And that's how I started working in the Voices of Children Charity Foundation, coordinating projects for children with autism and their families. And I started to do supported groups for moms called Motherhood with Letter A and podcast Letter A about autism. And now I think that it is the main my identity, maybe. This educational work for children with autism, for society, for families. But I have other identities because I'm a journalist. I'm a professional journalist, and I'm a writer. I have my first novel, and I have different identities. I'm mom, I'm wife, I'm woman, I'm Ukrainian. But I think that this educational work with autism, with support of families, is the main my identity. It's maybe a short biography of me.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that because I agree that the childhood of any child should be something of joy, something of happiness. It should be something to be remembered. And I know that so many people experience bad childhoods or childhoods that maybe are traumatic in a sense that it prevents them from having healthy relationships as they're an adult. Right. So, like, when you decided to do this, what was the reason why you got started making sure that children have a good upbringing?
Uh, you know, um, as a mom, as a social activist, as a journalist, maybe as well, uh, I try to use each experience in my life and to do something with it, not just for myself, but for other people as well. especially for children. And it was so important for me to use these big challenges in my life, but use it for other people as well.
When I look at my own childhood, I know that there's so many resources available now, but sometimes we don't realize that maybe there wasn't that many resources, let's say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And I wonder how many children have suffered because they weren't aware that there's people out there like you, like maybe me, that could help them. When you see children who are suffering and maybe they're not able to get the help that they so desperately need, how does that make you feel to see that happening?
Um, Thank you for these questions. You know, I think that childhood must be colorful in the life of each child. Doesn't depend. You have some diagnosis. You live in the war. You have some illness. I don't know. Doesn't depend. Your childhood must be colorful, and as an adult, I want to do a lot of different acts, projects, etc. For this colorful childhood of our children, especially in Ukraine, especially now. I can't do it. I have, I don't know, skills. I have wishes. I want to do it to help them to do their childhood is colorful.
I wonder if we would ever get to a point where every child grows up with the biggest of smiles on their
Yeah.
faces, right? Filled with happiness. Like I know I'm here in Canada, you're there in Ukraine, and it appears that there's like a difference between maybe what is happening in Ukraine versus what's happening in Canada. Is there, does that impact what you can do when it comes to helping these children who have special needs and who need special attention more so than the average child that doesn't have these concerns?
Um, you know, sometimes I think very often I think in my job every day in my work I think about the parents because happiness of children depends on happiness of their parents. Happiness of their parents depends on their I mean parents emotional stable. Yes, about depends on the emotions, about the psychological stable. And as a mother of a child with autism, with child a child with special needs, and an expert in this field, I know a lot of challenges of parents who have children with special needs. The first is some chronic stress and burnout, because your child with special needs often requires extensive support from adults. As a result, lack of personal time and emotional exhausting. It's some maybe social isolation, especially speaking of societies with a low level of acceptance of neurodiversity. Unfortunately, in Ukraine, with its post-Soviet legacy, is still such a country. Financial pressure because high cost of therapy, specialized education, and medical support. And maybe the most difficult things for me as a mom and for other parents is a fear of your future, because you can't plan anything, because autism provides no guarantees and clear scenarios of your future. You just can walk your way with your child, yes, and this lack of knowledge about your future can be very frustrating, and especially different thoughts about your life and your child without autism. Yeah, because sometimes you can think how you would have funny conversation with your child, how you would play with him or with her, who your sons or your daughters' friends would be, etc. It's very painful souls, and I want to help these parents, these adults, these moms and dads to cope with these painful souls as well. I want to create, and we create with Charity Foundation different content, support content to them. I want to help them because I understand that if I help these parents in different ways, I help their children. And for me, it's very strong connection between help to parents and help to children. I want to do it. We want to do it in our charity foundation, and we do it every day.
So when you look back on when you were going through this as a parent and you're helping your child along and you realize that there's going to be some challenges that are a little bit different than maybe what you expected, what are some of the challenges that you faced and overcame while you were raising your child?
For me, I think that it's some in emotional field. It's more about some broken illusions and broken dreams, because I've ever imagined my son even before his birth. I imagine our relationships, our weekends, our future. I don't know, his jokes even. We like to imagine something in our life, especially about our children. And when we listened about, when we heard about his diagnosis, I was absolutely convinced that all my illusions, all my dreams are broken, and it was painful. So I know a lot about autism because, as a journalist, as a friend of my friends who have children with autism as well, it wasn't shock for me in some informational field, because I know a lot of autism, about different strategy of correctional trainings, about the rehabilitation. But in emotional fields, it was difficult for me, for my husband, for our families, because I can't understand. I can't explain it. It's inside, something inside.
I have a few friends that are parents and they have children that are autistic or they're on the spectrum. They have Asperger's and they have other
Mm-hmm.
um, situation that they're handling. And one thing that they told me was that they weren't 100% to be they weren't 100% prepared to be a parent. Like they prepared to the best of their ability, but they definitely weren't 100% to have a child that had this condition. And the reason why they shared that is because it takes a different type of focus, a different type of connection, a different type of energy, a different type of time management. Like for those who don't know, like you're busy in a whole different kind of way. And I remember one person shared that they would bring their child around the park and around people, and then some people began to shy away because they weren't comfortable with a child that was experiencing those things. And it was quite sad because the parent and the child felt isolated. They felt at times lonely. Are these some of the emotions that you and your husband experience during the raising of your child, and maybe there's a little bit of isolation, a little bit of loneliness, or maybe some other type of emotion that you're experiencing?
Um, I think that I'm so happy because my friends, my surrounding is very emphatic, and we are not isolated as a family, and it maybe depends on my own position, you know, because I'm absolutely open to to society, to my surrounding, to different people. I don't remember, but maybe after 4 months, when we discovered our son's diagnosis, we decided with my husband to post about it in our social media. Why? Because when you have a child 2 years old, each your friend wants to ask you something about him. For example, oh, how is your Enrico? He maybe talks a lot, and you can't say no. He doesn't speak, and it was so painful for us, and we decided to tell about Enrico's spectrum, because we want to less all these questions, painful questions for us in the one hand, but on the other hand, to explain more about spectrum, explain more about our parents' experience, and about experience of the other families who can't post about their situation, about their children, because they are isolated. And after that, I started to tell more stories about our life with our son, about our challenges, about our crying sometimes, because it's really difficult, because you as a machine every day, because your son have a lot of different therapy trainings, lessons, different therapists, psychologists, and each hour day is absolutely full, and each day of other parents children with autism the same. And I tried to write in my social media not just about our stories, but even about some rules, communication with parents, with parents who have children with autism, about some stop phrases or support phrases, and a lot of people who don't know enough about autism very often was thankful for me and for my husband, because of our experience, we share our experience, especially about communication with parents with autism, because I remember how I wrote a post, a text in my Facebook page about stop phrases. For example, I asked my subscribers and my followers, please don't say parents with autism, everything will be fine. We hate this phrase. Please don't say it. Because at that moment, nothing feels fine. Everything feels wrong, This phrase doesn't provide support, it only offers false hope for us. Or, for example, I ask them, don't tell us, please, he doesn't look autistic, because it's not about support. As for me, I remember that I write a big article about different stereotypes about autism, and about stereotype of genius autistic children, genius autistic adults. And I write that I hate phrase, oh great, he will grow up to be a genius. You are so lucky, mom. No, it's stereotype. I'm not. So yes, I'm happy, mom, but not about it. and and I try to explain every day about autism, about different special needs of our children. I want to, in my project as well, I want to make our society, and maybe other societies as well, more tolerance, more educatable. Yes.
I think that's very important. I know sometimes, like for me, because I'm around people that have autistic children, I know some of the things perhaps not to say and some of the things that to say, so you're not maybe triggering or upsetting someone unintentionally. But you're right. There's sometimes some people will say they'll find out that your child is autistic or they have something that they're dealing with, and they'll tell you, "Oh, don't worry, it'll be fine." Or, some of this old school medicine, they're like, "Oh, you know what? Just give them two drops of this, and it'll all work out."
Or maybe, for example, my favorite, yes, phrase: have you tried curing them with? Never say this to parents, please, because first, autism is not illness and can't be cured, and second, it's I don't know, devalues maybe our emotional at that moment. Or, for example, you must be so strong. Okay, I will be strong.
Yeah, I think because they're projecting, right? Because they're thinking, if I was in that situation, just by default, I'm strong, right? But it's a difficult time for the parents because let's be honest, a lot of people when they have children is not something that they foresee initially, right? Everyone expects their
Mhm.
child to be born a certain way, but when this does happen, it doesn't mean you're going to love your child any less. It just means that there's going to be different demands of you as a parent, and the support system, as you mentioned, it's so important to have it.
Yeah, but if you want support us, I mean parents with children with children with special needs, you can say something like, "I'm here. I'm with you. If you feel like sharing your thoughts, I'm ready to listen." Because it's very important to have somebody who can listen you at some difficult moment. Or, for example, you can ask, how can I support you today? Today, day before today, I don't know, yesterday, every day. We want to feel this support. Or, for example, it's very important to say, you are doing an amazing job. You are well done. You are great mom. You are great dad. You are great sister, brother, grandparents. Because family of autistic children do huge work every day, and it's so important for them to hear that they are well done. Just just say it. You are well done. You are great mom. You're great dad. Or, for example, if you don't know enough about autism or other neurodiversities, you can say, maybe I may not fully understand about it, but I'm here to learn, and invite the parent to share more about autism, about their child, if they have some emotional resource for it. But speaking of some practical help, because I want to share this information as well, offer to stay with the child for half on an hour or for an hour if the child is comfortable with it, yes, and mom or dad comfortable with it. So the parent, I don't know, can take a walk in the park or have a coffee, get a new haircut, or simply catch up on sleep. Believe me, this is the best help you can offer them. It's true. As for me, real help and real support is not difficult. It's about very simple things, simple words, simple acts, simple offers. It's very simple to support them.
Do you think sometimes that the people who are looking to offer support can only offer it in ways that aren't helpful because they don't know how to do it any other way?
Um, as for my experience as a mom, my friends very often ask me about such such an simple support, simple help. And I'm so thankful for them, for these offers, different offers. Yes, yes. Sometimes I can use their help. Sometimes I can avoid this help. They help, but it's so important for us, for parents. I think it's important for all parents. Doesn't depend the children have autism or other special needs, or don't have autism and special needs. It's very important for all parents, because very often parents are so exhausted.
I think sleep is
Yeah.
something that every parent would love so much more of.
Yes. Yes, it's true.
Even
It's true.
peace. Like even silence, like coming home to a house and there's like no noise. Could you imagine that? Just peace, Olena? Nothing.
I
You
I can't imagine it. I
yeah.
can't imagine it, because I have two children and one dog, and silence is something strange for my home and for my life. But I like this noisy life. I like. What is interesting is that, yes, uh, my experience with my son is not easy, uh, but I like this life. I like my life. I like my son. I like our relationships with him. I like our short conversation, because he speaks with help of short words, short phrases, and I like these dialogues with him. I like my experience, because this experience and this type of motherhood maybe gave me a lot. Uh, I don't know. It's my projects for other families, my future book about autism, and my experience, my deep emotions maybe, and deep relationships with my son. Because if your child needs you so much, it's about deeper communication with him and deeper relationships with him. When I, as a mother, came face to face with autism and began searching for information and connection with other families who have children with special needs, I realized how little information about autism and about this experience. So we have information, but very often it's so dry, formal information. And as a professional journalist with nearly 20 years of experience in the media, I felt, and I feel it now, that I had to create a content that would tell the story about autism in a very human, understandable, and empathic way. And I proposed to do a podcast about autism, and my colleagues supported this idea. And that's how we started recording the Letter A podcast, when I serve as a host like you, and I invite different experts to studio, psychologist, speech therapist, ergotherapist, adults with autism, parents of autistic children, human rights activists, and we discuss a wide range of topics to provide a comprehensive view of autism from different perspectives. And what is what such a podcast, such a content important for families raising a child with autism? First, because we can give them very important information about therapy, about illness, about different interventions and support strategies. But the most important for me in this my charity work, some second reason that we help parents feel that they are not alone. I think that we form some community, and many our listeners write to me in the comments or messages that they thanking us for creating a safe space where they feel part of a large community of parents. And they often mention that our podcast and our other content has become an emotional support for them. And it's so important for me and for our team. But this podcast and our content is very important for society as well, for Ukrainian society, because we promote knowledge about autism, fosters empathy, acceptance, and tolerance, and helps to break down stigma. And I feel some power in this work because each no every day I try to ask me about what about this day for you. Yes. What about not just about, I don't know, sleep, food, conversations, life with your family. What about else? And this work in a charity with these families, with this some educational content, it's my answer for these questions. Every day, my each day is about something more than ordinary life, and it's very important for me, especially in this hard time for my country and for all the world as well. I want to be about something more than ordinary life, and this my experience as a mom helped me to be more than I don't know, ordinary person maybe. I want to help. I want to share my experience. I want to do something important for these parents and for these children, because you remember this rule that resourceful parents is a happy children. I think that maybe it's my answer for your questions.
I think that's 100% true. I think we need to unite everyone while we're doing this, because it's not that child over there or their child over there. It's all of our children, because all of them are suffering potentially one way or another. So you're absolutely right.